Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into the Brave Files. I'm Mary from the Latter-day Lesbian podcast, and I get to introduce today's show. That's pretty awesome. So today's episode is about overcoming and being resilient in even the darkest of times. You'll also hear about how powerful it is to use your own personal experiences, no matter how painful, to help lift others up. Doing so is a true example of bravery. They'll also dig into how healing is a beautiful, bold, and brave process. Finally, this episode does deal with trauma and abuse, so we wanted to give you a heads up about that. It really is a fantastic and important episode, so please stay tuned. Hey, but before I leave you, I want to encourage you to participate in the Brave Files annual gratitude episode. Call 312-646-0205. Share your name, location, and what you're most grateful for from the past year, so Heather and the Brave Files crew can make an exceptional gratitude episode featuring you, the amazing listeners. I know I'll be contributing my message, and I hope you all do too. It's so very cool. Oh, and don't forget to become a patron of the Brave Files. My girlfriend and co-host Shelly and I are patrons, and we love being part of building this wonderful, brave community. Go visit patreon.com/bravefiles and sign up today. Now here we go.
Brave, strong, resilient.
This is Heather Vickery, and you're listening to the Brave Files, stories from people living courageously. When we choose bravely in big and small ways, it powerfully elevates our lives. I hope these stories connect with you and encourage you to embrace bravery in every possible way, day after day. Together, we can build a movement of courageous living that enriches both our lives and our communities. And if you enjoy the show, I ask you to please share it with others. Maybe think of someone who you want to choose bravely right alongside you. Thanks for tuning in. Now here's the show. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Brave Files podcast. I am so delighted that you're tuning in today, and I cannot wait to share this week's story with you. But before we do that, have you gone and checked out our Patreon page? We have put together so many awesome tiers that you can support us for as little as $4 a month. There are some fantastic little prizes for those of you that become patrons. And the goal here is to keep the show going strong for as long as possible. And quite frankly, we need your help to do that. So please hit up patreon.com/bravefiles. That's patreon.com/bravefiles. Check out all the different tiers and support us in any way that you can. Okay, so listeners, each week we share the story of a person who has faced fear and chosen bravely. Today's story has a happy ending, but a difficult and heartbreaking beginning. Just a word of caution, today we're going to talk about kidnapping, rape, and domestic violence. I'd like to welcome Nataleen Henry to the show. She's a survivor in every sense of the word, and now she uses dance as a way to heal and help others. She joins us from the UK. Nataleen, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited. We have tried to have this interview for months now, and we've had technical issues and scheduling issues. So thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us.
Thank you.
Let's start with what happened when you were 16, and then maybe we can go back before that a little. But tell us really, from what I understand, about the moment that your life shifted forever.
Yes. Well, I remember it very clearly. That week, I was at my friend's home. It was the 6 weeks holidays in England. It's like we call it like a British summer.
Okay.
I stayed over, and I probably left about 7, 8 o'clock, and it was still bright outside. And as I began to walk home, a car pulled up, and the man in the car took me and proceeded to take me into a field.
Oh, my God.
He raped me. And I remember that day, because I normally wear my glasses that day. And I remember I didn't have my glasses on. I remember being in the field and thinking, I recognized the field because it was quite near my surroundings. But I remember thinking, how am I going to get out? I know if I scream, I know if I try to fight back that individual, I wasn't sure about my own life. Right. I wasn't sure if he would try to kill me. So I thought to myself at that moment, just let go and let him do what he needs to do at that moment.
Oh my goodness.
And that was when my life completely changed forever. And
It's absolutely horrifying. Do you have any recollection? I mean, so when he went to grab you, were you able to struggle then, or did you immediately go, nope, I'm not going to fight him. I'm going to let him do what he wants? Do you remember your thought process there?
I can't remember exactly. I have memory and not memory. I remember being in the car driving. I remember being in the field and remembering my surroundings. But when I let go completely, I remember my mum actually called me. I remember my phone ringing, and I remember him telling me, switch off your phone. And I remember thinking to myself, this could be, my lifeline here. But I thought, just switch it off and just let him do what he's got to do.
Wow.
How I got home, I still don't really remember exactly, if I'm honest with you.
So after he raped you, which is just so it's so hard to even say those, and I don't usually do video when we record these interviews, but Nataleen and I are on video, and I can see her beautiful face, and the mother in me is struggling. He just left you there?
Yeah. Well, actually, when he done what he done, he drove me back around near the area. But as I said, when I got out the car, I can't remember anything from that moment. I do remember going home. I remember the most I can remember is opening up my house, putting a key through my door, but I can't remember my journey.
Right.
To this day, I don't remember, to be fair.
So did he force you back in the car to return you where you were, or did you?
No, because I was just more submissive to him.
Yeah.
So because I think I was submissive, because I knew to myself, don't fight.
Right.
So because I let go.
Okay. Wow.
There's nothing we could do. Yeah.
Did you tell your parents right away?
No.
Oh my goodness.
The thing was, when I come home, I remember my mom and my dad, they were asking me how come I was home late. And I remember I didn't know exactly what to say then. And I remember there was watching, I think it was Harry Potter, I remember specifically. And I remember I just couldn't take what was going on. I remember running upstairs, and to be fair, it was more like a shock.
Sure.
It didn't feel real. I would question myself, did this really happen? And I think because I was in a state of shock and I was very submissive to that point, my mind just became blank and numb. And I actually felt scared to actually go to my parents and tell them. So I remember being in a very long depressive state for probably about a year. And just remember being in my room, switching off the lights and just being dark and in depression. Yeah.
So you did not report it to the authorities either?
No, I didn't. No.
Is that because you were afraid, or it was just you were coping and you couldn't? Did you know that it was just wrong, illegal, horrible, that this person had no right to violate you in this way? Yes.
I knew it was wrong, but I think at that time, being 16, I think my coping mechanism was switch off, block it out. Yeah.
It doesn't. Yeah. It's a really interesting conversation because it's that moment where our brains take us from what we know is the right thing to let's just not die. Let's just stay alive.
Yes.
And it's so easy to cast judgment and to say, but why? Why wouldn't you ask for help? Why wouldn't you fight? Why wouldn't you scream? But not having been there, while I can't understand, I can imagine this just deep need to survive. Yes. And it was very dark at that time. And he was a big man. I'm small, petite in my body anyway. And because I was in a field and and I was looking at my surroundings, and I knew if I was to open the car door, I knew I wouldn't know where I was going. Right.
Plus I didn't have my glasses on. I couldn't see clearly. And I thought I had to weigh it up. And I thought, you know what am I going to do here? So,
oh my gosh, that's horrifying. So for a whole year, when did you finally tell somebody?
Finally, I would say it took me several years to actually come out, to my parents. I don't know why. I wouldn't say that my parents are people that you can't go to. They are. I think at the time my coping mechanism was switch off. This is not real. Did it really happen? And it happened so fast and so quick. And when you're in that predicament, you think that you always hear stories like, a woman got raped, things like that, but you never think it will happen to you.
Of course.
When it happened to me, at 16, my brain is still developing. I didn't know what to do. But eventually I did tell my parents, and I told my siblings. They were distraught by it.
Of course.
And my sister, she was like, why didn't you tell me from before? But I explained, I said, because it's like my body went into shock and numbness. I didn't know what to do. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's just so heartbreaking to think that your brain would tell you not to get support, right? That's all of it is tragic. Oh my goodness. So what happened in those couple of years after the kidnapping in your life? What changed?
Yeah. Well, within me, I was very bubbly, very outgoing. After the rape, it obviously made me more within myself and totally switched off. I then began to develop a lot of low self-esteem and low self-confidence. I was about 17 or 18 at the time. And I met somebody, and he was probably about 3-4 years older than myself. At the time, now looking back, I did see certain signs, but being young and I wanted to be loved through my situation, I thought, no, I want love. But unfortunately, when I was in this relationship, it started off perfect, started off really fine. And then eventually it became violent.
And what type of violence was that? How was he treating you?
I would say it first started off with him saying, I'll be in his home, and he would tell me, say if the radio is on or something's on, I would have to switch off the TV. And I would be wondering, why do I need to switch it off if you're sitting close to it? So by me saying that and not obeying him, I remember that time he threw him up against the wall.
Oh my gosh.
And he started to, fist fight. So he was punching me in my face, punching me in my stomach. Then that fight eventually came downstairs. There was more slapping and punching. So the fight was probably for around an hour.
Oh my goodness. So
I would say when I didn't do what he says to do, then the violence will come out. But then eventually he will say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it. So it was Jekyll and Hyde.
Standard abuser behavior to apologize. It won't happen again. Did you share that with anyone, or did you
Yes,
also?
I did.
You did. Okay.
I did share that. Yeah. I shared it with my sisters at the time because I'm close to my sisters. But when you're in that situation, it's quite difficult to say, it's easy for someone to say, just walk out.
Absolutely.
But for me, it felt like a prison. And it sounds really weird, but when you're in an abusive situation, it's like a drug. It's a drug for that person abusing you and also for yourself because you're addicted to them. There's a high, there's a low.
Right.
And you think that it's love at the time because they give you that love. And then when they're ready, they can take that away.
Yep.
And being so young, not as an excuse, but at that time, having low self-esteem, I believed it was love, at that time. Yeah.
I have never been in a physically abusive relationship, thank goodness. But in college, I was in an incredibly emotionally abusive relationship. And for half of my life, I've always said, I wish he would have just hit me, because if he would have hit me, I would have left. And then just recently I thought, would I have?
Yeah.
I think I would have, but I don't know, because there's so much that happens inside the brain of a person who's being abused. But in an interesting turn of events, a mutual friend from college reached out and asked me about this person just a few months ago and said that he knows that he was abusive, that he's raising daughters and doesn't want to make those mistakes and doesn't want them to live through that. And he's never reached out to me, which is fine. She asked me if I thought about him. And I said, no, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. There's nothing to think about. Like I've done my growing and healing, and he doesn't own any part of my brain or my thoughts.
Yeah.
But it was nice to know that he was regretful. There was some peace in that.
Yeah, that closure. Yeah.
A little bit of closure. So you told your sisters, and your sisters said, what did they say? Get out. I'm pretty sure they said, but you didn't, right?
No, I know. When it's hard to explain. He knew a lot about me as well.
Did he know about the rape?
Yes, he did. Because eventually I did tell him. And so he was sympathetic, I would say, to that part of me.
Interesting.
Exactly. But when you're in that type of abusive psychological relationship, emotionally, you're caught up with them. Financially, in every area of your life. And it's like they know that it's almost predatory. So they know that. So when they can take that away. And then when they can bring you back that love. So I was always up and down,
It's so manipulative.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So how long did you stay in this relationship?
I would say about 4 years. I was with him for 4 years.
Did your parents know at this time or just your sisters?
My parents knew at that time. Because at that time I then moved to live with him I was probably about 19 then, and, I guess that's in England, that's okay in age to get your own place and things like that. So I moved.
Lots of people in the US do it too.
So I moved in with him. Mm-hmm.
Did they try to stop you?
I would say I was more, my family, I wouldn't say they tried to stop me. They were more trying to talk sense into myself. And I knew it wasn't a relationship that I should be in. But I felt like I was trapped in it already. And I felt like this was the only love that I actually was going to get for myself. I didn't believe I could get any better at that time, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah. That is crushing. So 4 years, what changed? When did you decide you did not have to live like that?
Yes. Well, it took him constantly cheating, but not only that. I remember one time I was at the home with us and we was having an argument and he ran up to me like he was going to hit me. And I put myself in a position to protect myself. And then he looked at me and he laughed because he wasn't going to hit me. He just done it to make me have a fear, to frighten me. And then he walked away. And I think from then I knew, there was many other situations, but from then I knew this is not something I want to continue to do.
Yeah.
And all the other times I didn't know that there was a way out, but that time I just knew I need to come out. There's a way out. And I am a woman of faith as well. And I believe in a higher power than myself, which is God. And through faith and through my own courage and through my own strength, I said, this is it. This is enough. And I just left and I never turned back. Yeah.
I believe that's the case for a lot of people in a lot of situations where all of a sudden it just clicks that no, I don't have to do this. Yeah. I don't have to live like this. I don't have to suffer through this. I wish if anybody listening has research or anything they can share with me, I wish I knew what it was that causes that click in our brains. I in things not nearly as tragic or as devastating, but I'll tell clients all the time, when you are no longer willing to accept this, you will stop.
Yeah.
You'll put up with it until you're no longer willing to, and then you will change something. And that sounds so basic, but this is how we're built as humans. Eventually you will not allow, but for a lot of people, they don't get out.
No, it's true. Yeah.
So you got out. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What was that healing process like for you?
Oh, God. It was, even talking about it now, I can feel the emotion a little bit.
Yeah,
I would say, my God, very traumatic.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't just only healing from the abusive relationship, I then had to heal from the rape as well. So it felt like a double surgery.
Yeah.
In school, through college, I did study dance. I just learned to use art to express my emotions and, basically receive healing. And actually through that channel of art, of dance, and then through faith, a lot of healing came through. And also I gained a therapist and that helped a lot. But I would say the first stages was really rough. I went through, because I had to dig up from my past. So I went through back into depression. It's like it went back the other way around.
Right. Sure. So that makes sense.
Yeah. And then eventually, I came out. Yeah.
I really love though that you have allowed dance to be part of your healing ritual. Tell us a little bit about that, and then what you do with that now.
All that now, it's through art, I use like Christian dancing. And what that does, I look at it, it's a way of expression of your emotions and what you're feeling at that moment. Also worship unto your creator. And I noticed that when I would just put the music on and I would just dance, I would feel this overwhelming presence come over me. I just could feel the presence of God, and that's when my healing began to flow.
Okay, so I've never heard the term Christian dance. Is that a particular type of dance, or is it just the music you're listening to when you dance?
The music I listen to when I dance, and certain dance moves that I choose to do, and tapping into God.
Okay, fascinating.
And yeah.
Are there any resources we can send our listeners to? Because now I'm curious. I want to like research like what are Christian dance moves? It's just something I've never ever heard of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, how can I explain it? I'm trying to explain because how I first began to play like Christian worship music, and then I would just move my body and dance.
Right.
If you look at the history of Christianity, you can see like Israel is,
right.
And so what people do, they use like there's a thing called Jewish dancing.
So I'm familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's certain movements that you do, like, if you look it up. And so some people, they would just use those type of movements and just worship God. So through that, I more just actually allow the Spirit, the Holy Spirit,
to move you. Okay.
To move me. And I notice as that happens, I just let go and I say, God, just move through me. That's as I said, I just feel his presence, and that's when healing comes. Yeah.
It sounds like a beautiful ritual to me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm sure it's lovely to watch. Do you do this professionally? I
do. I go and I dance at weddings or different like spiritual conferences. And normally, actually, sometimes when I've danced before one time, and God showed me a lady who had pain in her back. And I remember I danced over her and I just waved my hand over her back. And I remember I sat back down, and she came. As I sat back down, the preacher was about to preach, and she said, "No, I want to speak." And she said, "I was suffering for pain in my back for years." And she said, as I came over to her and I danced over her, the pain went like that.
Wow.
So, yeah, there's healing.
Never know what's going to happen. I think that's great. Is that your sole source of income, or do you do other work as well?
I work with children. So I do work with special needs children, and I do classroom support. Yeah,
I love that. I can see that. I can feel that sort of patient energy within you that helps people maybe give themselves some grace that you weren't able to give to yourself.
Yeah.
Is that part of it? Yeah. Yeah. I feel that from you. I'm not sure why, but I can feel that.
That's true.
What has been, well, I always ask the question, what's been the biggest struggle? Obviously, there's some pretty obvious biggest struggles, but let me ask that question as it is framed around getting out of the abusive relationship. Since then, since you've gained your sense of self-confidence and your healing energy, what has been the biggest struggle through that?
I would say trusting people, trusting new people.
Yeah.
Yeah. It takes me years. I could know you for years and I don't trust you.
I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't trust you. And, you could show me a lot of things and I still won't trust you. It takes me a while to just relax and just continue to get to know a person. And then I build up that trust. I would say trust for me.
Is there anything specific that allows you to trust somebody, or is it just time?
Time. And I'm a person, I'm a very observant person. So I like to know if the person is genuinely genuine.
Yeah.
And if I feel that you have a negative energy, I don't want anything to do with you.
Feel that.
I'm not rude. Yeah, I'm not rude to you, but I don't want anything. I just keep positivity around. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. 100%. What would you say has been the biggest pleasant surprise?
What I do now, encouraging other women.
Yeah.
I never thought, that someone like myself would actually do that. I'll be in a place of strength. to encourage others. And I think that's been the biggest surprise for
And
me.
how do you do that? How do you use that strength to support others and help them step up into their own empowerment?
I've gone on talk shows, gospel as well as non-gospel, women's conferences, and just encourage them by sharing my story, sharing the signs of abuse and what not to tolerate, what to tolerate, and know the worth, really.
Yeah.
So
Stories really are healing and really magical, aren't they? There is something, that's why I do this show. I love that you said that, because hearing other people's stories connects us with our own stories and gives us permission and confidence and grace and all of those things. So I love that you're able to do that. And can you just imagine the magic in that, from this young girl who felt like she couldn't even tell her parents about this horrible tragedy to a woman who stands in front of hundreds of people and shares your personal story. What an incredible thing. Yeah, it's beautiful. Do you feel brave?
Yes, definitely. Definitely brave. I know back then I was living in a lot of fear and a lot of shame.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of shame to my story. And now I don't feel that anymore. I believe my voice and the story is for those whom it's for, you know, and I know it empowers others, and I know it empowers other women because I've heard it back from other women.
Yeah.
So
I love it. Good for you. And I'm always I'd say, 8 out of 10 times when I ask that question on this show, people say, "Oh no, it's not brave. I'm just doing my thing." And then I have to tell them why I see bravery. And I love that you said, "Yes, this is brave. This is hard."
Yes.
And I love that you feel that and you own it. Now, you've recently put your story to words, right? You've written a memoir called Beauty for Ashes.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a big deal. Can you tell us about that process? How did you decide to do it? And then what it was like writing it?
Well, actually, it was another spiritual experience. I had someone who's quite spiritual show me that this is something that I should do, I need to do. And having my own spiritual encounters, I knew this is something that I need to do. And I know by sharing it, it will help a lot of other women.
Yeah.
So I put pen to paper. It wasn't easy. It was like another therapy session again, because I then had to go back into my past and remember those memories. Because when you're writing, you want to touch the reader. You know, you don't want to just write to write, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
so
I love it. Was it difficult to write?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was very, very difficult. And thank God at the time I had, I still have, my therapist. So even though it was hard, I had that balance. Yeah.
I feel that completely. Now, when will the book be available for purchase?
Well, it's already submitted now to my wonderful publishers. So I would say December of this year, it should be ready in stores. It will be in, I don't know if you have Waterstones, W.H. Smith in America, but it will be in bookstores in England.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Will you have it on Amazon if people want to get it?
Yes. Yeah.
And hopefully we'll see it in all of our local. I'm all about shopping local if you can. I don't mean to push Amazon, but hopefully it will be everywhere. I think that's great. So, within the next probably couple of months, you all can go and get your own copy. So we'll have links to this. The show is going to air before the book is out, but Nataleen, if you will give us updates on where we can get it once it's out, we'll fix the links and you guys can go and look for it. And do you have a way for people to sign up if they want to be kept in the loop and they want to know when you've published? Do you have a way for them to do that?
Not yet. My publishers were sorting out my website.
Okay.
So I can be able to give that to you as well.
Okay.
So,
well, maybe that'll come before the show actually airs. So we'll be able to add that in. I love that.
Yeah.
If you were to give one piece of advice to somebody who's currently in an abusive situation, what would that be?
I would say, maybe you think that this relationship is love. And I believe that in love doesn't hurt. Love is patient and love is kind. And also, I would say that you are worth so much more.
Yeah.
You don't need to have validation from even another person of your worth, of who you are as a beautiful woman. You're wonderfully and fearfully made. And this is not something that you need to be in. If you do have support, I would say speak to those who you know, or speak to your local authorities or women's groups, and get the help that you need. And I would definitely would say that out of every dark tunnel, there is light and there is hope.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So the last two questions that I always ask, and I love them, I'm excited to ask you this one. How do you celebrate successes and things that feel good to you?
Gosh, how do I celebrate? I normally actually go out. No, I'm not a party person.
It would be okay if you were. No judgment.
Wrong. Yeah, no judgment. There's no judgment there. But I would normally go out for meals, but I normally go for walks. It sounds quite...
I love it. That's a way I celebrate a lot, is to just stop and go out for a walk.
I do. And I like as I go out, I can just see nature and I appreciate things more. And actually, by me going out and seeing nature, I feel realigned, actually.
I love that.
I feel realigned and I'm connected to my creator. Yeah.
I love that because it's celebrating and it's also expressing gratitude, like to stop and pay attention and notice the little things and feel things more intensely is an expression of gratitude, which is something that I'm very passionate about. And then I wrote a gratitude journal, and produced it so that people could document those kinds of things and really step into the acknowledgement of all of the beauty around them. So I love that you do that. And then, to me, part of my deepest core values as a person, as a business, as a podcast host is giving back and working together as a community. And so I ask every guest that comes on, what is your favorite charitable organization to support?
Gosh, I love to support Women's Aid.
Okay.
That's a charitable organization that I love to support. Yeah, that's one of them.
Women's Aid. Yeah, it's obviously important. That's a domestic abuse hotline in the UK. And actually, if you are in danger or need support, if you're within the United States, please, even if you have a support system, contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. If you are in the UK, Women's Aid has partnered with the National Domestic Violence Helpline, and that's 0808-2000-247. Both of these organizations are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Okay? You are not alone. You can get help. I promise you. Nataleen, would you share your 3 words with us one last time?
Brave, strong, resilient.
Yes. Yes, my friend, you are all of those things. They're phenomenal words. And even in the dark moments, even when you felt like you didn't deserve better or you couldn't share, you were still resilient and strong enough to survive. And that's brave. And then stepping out of it and being able to help others, that's brave. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
Listeners, healing is a really beautiful thing, and healing in and of itself is a brave thing. Many of us sit in our pain until it becomes unbearable, and it's my hope that stories like this will help you and others move out of miserable situations faster than you would otherwise. You are valuable, lovable, and you deserve more, just as Nataleen said just a few minutes ago. Please, again, if you're in danger of any kind, if you need support of any kind, reach out and get help that you need. But know that you do not have to live through this. And again, Nataleen, I loved hearing your truth, and I wish everybody could see your beautiful smile. They'll see the pictures on the website. but it gives me so much hope to, know that other people can survive and step away from anything that's so tragic. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, listeners, I am so delighted that you were here with us. I hope that the interview and Nataleen's story touched you. If you feel that it would help others, please do me a favor and share it with them. We want to offer as much support to as many people as possible. And come December of 2019, be sure to go and look for Nataleen's book, Beauty for Ashes. If you like the show, which I hope that you do, remember to subscribe, rate, and review, and then share it with other people. That's how we grow. We're homegrown. And again, last but not least, be sure to check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/bravefiles, because we need your support to continue telling stories like Nataleen's and slowly but surely healing and changing the world. This is Heather Vickery reminding you today and always to go out and choose bravely. Today's show was brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/thebravefiles and browse their unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title of your choice for free and start listening. It's that simple. Just head to audiotrial.com/thebravefiles. You've been listening to The Brave Files, stories from people living courageously. To learn more about the show, find our show notes, or get some great bonus content, visit thebravefilespodcast.com. And we'd love to know what you think. You can give us a call at 312-646-0205. Let us know your thoughts on the episode, the show in general, or maybe share with us how you're out choosing bravely. This episode is brought to you by Vickery & Co. Success Coaching that helps you maintain a life well lived and a business well run. Learn more at vickeryandco.com. Our music is produced by Matt Lewis. Follow him on Instagram at mattmmusic or visit his website, theunionband.com. We couldn't do any of this without our extraordinary audio engineer, Andrew Olson. Learn more about him and check out his work at findandrewolson.com. And special thanks to our associate producer, Kim Statler. I'm your host and executive producer, Heather Vickery. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week.